Ladies and gentlemen, today is July 4th, 2020, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Mashing Joys Podcast. So great to have you all back. I, once again, am Cody Myers, aka Mediocre Panda, and sitting across from me here, across the interwebs, is my co-host, my cousin, and my co-conspirator for world domination, Mr. Jason Kaysen. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm super stoked about this episode. And happy 4th of July to everyone. Please don't blow off any digits. Just have some fun, stay safe, and hopefully you enjoy while you count the hours down until it gets dark so you can light some fireworks.
True. People are already starting to light them off over here.
Oh,
And
it's
I'm like,
banging over here.
yeah, it's popping off. People are ready. Any special plans for the 4th?
I was actually going to shoot you a text before this. No, we might hang out at the crib and just play some cornhole and light some whistling bungholes off.
Nice. Sounds like a Saturday. I planned on watching what I consider to be one of the most patriotic movies ever to celebrate the 4th of July. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Rocky 3?
No, Purge election year seems more pertinent.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, because it's like, it's
Yeah.
topical. All right. So this is episode 2. This is going up on SoundCloud. Am I right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's going up on SoundCloud. Should be the first episode on all of our other streaming services, Spotify, iTunes. So if you're listening on those platforms, welcome. If you would like, you can subscribe to this channel, subscribe to us as artists, and you'll get notifications as soon as the newest episodes drop. And then the first episode will be tied to this episode on YouTube as well.
And I know we discussed it briefly in the lead up to actually releasing episode 1 on YouTube. Go check it out if you haven't. It's a doozy. But we were talking about doing kind of an edited down version so we could get that first episode out on these other platforms. So if you're not comfortable with YouTube and you don't want to travel to a different site to listen to our show, we could throw that out there so you can get caught up on what we've already talked about. So if we say something, you're not completely lost. Is that still something we were talking about doing?
Yeah, we'll probably do some edits, and we might even do something like after the first few episodes, maybe do like a highlight audio file so you can just kind of get caught up on the last episodes. I know our plan is to try to at least get 1 to 2 episodes out a week, so there's going to be a lot of content for you guys, and anything we can do to kind of shorten that content for you guys to get caught up. I know for myself, there are plenty of content creators that are out there that I follow and I support. And I know when I go on vacation or if I have a really tough work week and I can't hit every single episode every single day, I love going back to when they do like highlight episodes so I can kind of get caught up on what they talked about. And if there's something in that highlight episode that piques my interest, then I will go back to whatever date that episode was from and just watch the whole episode. So we'll try to do that for you guys as well.
Yeah. We're gonna start posting a lot more just overall content on our social media pages. So if you guys are interested in seeing what we have to say on just a regular daily basis, you can find us on Facebook, Mashing Joys on Facebook, and on Instagram and Twitter at Mashing Joys on both of those sites as well. And we might have some stuff. Well, not might. We will be having some stuff coming up in the future with some live streaming stuff. But right now we're just going to take care of business, get this show up and running, and go from there.
Yeah, boy.
So we've got a little bit to talk about today. This one's going to be significantly shorter than episode 1, which ran over 2 hours.
Yeah, I felt like Joe Rogan for a second.
Yeah, just
not
way
as
less
handsome.
DMT. Yeah, and less handsome.
Yeah.
But we're going to touch on a few things here, and we're going to be talking about some speculation about the next generation of consoles, games to be coming out soon, and we're also going to recap some of our favorite and least favorite games of this current console generation of the Xbox One and the PS4, and the Nintendo Switch, if you want to throw that in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost threw a game in there, but I was like, there are other games I enjoy way more. So starting off, the first note we wanted to kind of hit on was not anywhere near the video game sphere. This is kind of trending towards that entertainment section that we kind of alluded to in the first episode, where we're going to be talking about comic books, TV shows, and all that kind of stuff. And a big acquisition was made today with Marvel acquiring the rights to Alien and Predator. That is super cool. I'm a huge fan of both those franchises, especially Alien, one of my favorite movies. And the guys at Marvel seem to know what they're doing, the guys and gals. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the future holds for those two different IPs.
Yeah, and I know that they're right now, at least, it is strictly comic book stories. This is not a direct adaptation to film or gaming, anything like that. This is strictly them gaining the rights of Alien and Predator as far as visually and making it into some extra stories. They might do some cross reference on some of their comic books, but for the most part, right now, it is strictly them gaining those rights and starting to kind of get their feelers out for the Alien and Predator universe. And then eventually, who knows where it'll go. One thing that we should keep in mind is don't forget that back in 2018, the Marvel Studios acquired Conan the Barbarian.
That's very true.
So, and we have not seen a movie. We haven't seen anything like that put out by Marvel Studios. It is strictly comic book based. Marvel definitely knows what they're doing. They're going to be acquiring these rights, and they're going to be putting out some comic books here and there, try to get some fan bases built. And then, you might see like I know one of the Marvel Studio artists was given the task of actually drawing Alien and Predator for their news breaking announcement, and he drew a picture of Predator with Iron Man's helmet. And so everyone initially was like, "Oh my God, they're already going to start crossing these universes." And basically, he was just drawing like, "Hey, we're welcoming him to our team," not necessarily, we're going to put out a comic book right off the bat with Iron Man. So there's a lot of speculation out there, but Marvel Studios immediately shut it down. But it is extremely exciting, and what's so cool about it is it was so surprising. Like there haven't been talks of Marvel trying to reach into this universe. All we hear about with Marvel right now is what they're going to do in the next phases for Avengers, what they're going to do with the Spider-Man rights and how they're going to be able to keep those and not play this battle anymore, and how are they going to bring Venom on when they do that, and all those things. You never even heard about Alien and Predator being a conversation. And the fact that Marvel went out and got them tells us that, that's something that they see in this universe as crucial. And they think that it has a fan base that they want to tap into. So if you haven't checked out Alien and Predator, you don't have to see all the movies. Check out the originals. They're great. Even some of the newer ones, the newer adaptations that they've put out are pretty good, but at least go watch the originals if you haven't. They're fantastic. And it'll kind of give you a glimpse to what Marvel's going to do with it going forward.
Yeah, this really did come straight out of left field. No one really anticipated this at all. And the fact that they are so beloved, as you mentioned, this really shows a commitment from Marvel. And to clarify, this is definitely a Marvel Comics thing, not the Disney-owned Marvel Studios.
Yep.
So, but it's exciting. I'm excited to see some of the artwork, see what stories they have to tell. And now it's just hurry up and wait. I'm not anticipating anything super soon, as this was just announced today. But it's exciting nonetheless. Moving into more video game things, something we kind of specialize in. We wanted to talk about a piece of information that came out recently with a leak coming from, I believe it was the Microsoft store. I could be wrong there. It could be Amazon or wherever. Um, with a price leak for NBA 2K21. Um, anyone who's been playing video games on the modern consoles since the PlayStation 3 and the 360 have become accustomed to a standard $60 price tag for all new AAA releases. And it seems that coming into this next generation, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, that price might be jumping up a little bit. The price leaked for 2K21 for the next gen consoles was a crisp $70. So tiny $10 increase. We saw something similar to this when we transitioned from the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3, going from $50 to $60. So it's not anything super unusual, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this. What does that make any difference to you when it comes to buying a game on release compared to waiting for a sale?
I mean, let's start this off by just looking over my shoulder, the shoulder. And as far as cost of discs goes, my collection is going to grow no matter what. I will say that it is kind of alarming that the price is going up, and the reason why is because you're going to have, especially since they're, and I know we'll dive into the consoles next episode as far as capabilities and things of that nature, but going from a disc-based or a digital-based console, I'm curious to see, is this going to be $70 for the disc because they want more people to do it digitally, or is it going to be something where they're seeing it as you are getting more with our game, so we're going to charge you more? Because if you look at Blu-ray sales, for instance, Blu-rays to 4Ks initially were a big price jump, but now Blu-rays have decreased in price and 4Ks are back to where Blu-rays were. Like if you went to go buy a brand new Blu-ray, it would have, like 5 years ago, it was $39.99. And it was $29.99 for the DVD digital, and it was $49.99 for the Blu-ray DVD and digital. Well, now 4K ultra discs are $39.99 and Blu-rays are $29.99. So the Blu-rays depreciated. So for them to now charge $10, I'm not sure. I guess we would, obviously it was a leak and it was an accident or whatever. I'm in the mindset of it wasn't on accident. I think this was 100% on purpose. You see this in sports all the time where GMs will leak information just to get the population's reaction to see if that's something that they should do. Like, for instance, if you had an athlete on your team that you were trying to trade, you would then leak information to a specific source about so and so's not happy here, or so and so's not getting along with someone in the locker room, and that would get leaked out. And then if the population reacts with good, get rid of him, or hey, he actually has some value, maybe we can get this guy for him, then the GMs are like, okay, our fan base would welcome a change. Or if they're like, who gives a crap, this guy's the best player on the team, put up with it, whatever, then they know, okay, maybe we should hold on to this guy. This could be something that they're leaking it out and they're like, let's just see how people react. Is this too much? Is this pushing it too far? Because if you're going to tell me that production of this disc is $10 more, I'm going to find that extremely hard to believe, because the discs that you're putting it on are the same discs that these movie production companies are putting them on, and they have adjusted their price accordingly. Now, granted, right off the bat, it was a little bit more. And if that's going to be like initially, this is what it's going to be until, the systems are out and they're getting a good flow of customers, then sure, I'll pay the $70 for like the first 5 games that I get, and then it'll go down. But it's not like super alarming, but it definitely has that little question mark where I'm like, why? I'd like to know the why.
Yeah, it seems a little bit suspicious from that standpoint. Um, I can kind of see a little bit of a price hike just due to the fact that with these next gen consoles and their technical capabilities, these developers are putting in a lot more work, a lot better programming into these games. They're taking a little bit longer, I'm assuming, but we'll get into game development and all that next episode. But I would like to think that maybe because of there's such a substantial improvement in hardware and performance that might justify that.
Mhm.
But I'm also interested to see is just the PlayStation 5 version going to be $70 or the next gen and the past gen still going to be 60? Or is that just going to be an overall leap that people who can't necessarily get their hands on the hardware right off the bat is just going to have to deal with? And I also kind of understand it that most of these components are coming from overseas. And with the current global climate, this pandemic that we're living in, some of these materials may be a little bit harder to come by, maybe not as much with disc manufacturing, but just hardware in general. So it's interesting to say the least. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this for sure. I want to hear what more developers are going to put their games out listing for, and see if this becomes a trend, or if it's like you said, maybe it's just maybe first few months, and
And
then
that too, like if it's COVID or whatever that's causing this, and they're just anticipating something initially, great. I just want to know the why. And if your why is it's because our games are going to be better, and you're just going to have to pay a higher price for that, so be it. Like that, I just want to know the why. I'd understand anyway. I will tell you this: if it's $69.99, I will be driving my happy ass across the Oregon border to Walmart because it's usually 30 cents less at Walmart, and I will be paying no sales tax for a game that's $69.69.
this guy gets it. This guy gets it. That's a pretty nice way to put it.
But yeah, I think I obviously it's so early in the process, we won't know right now, but I'd like to see the why. The one interesting thing though that might hopefully these gaming conglomerates understand or remember. I don't know if you remember, you were pretty young, but when the PS2 and when the PS3 first came out and the PS2 was still putting out games, it was right around like all the big sports games were getting really popular. So the sports games would put out different cover athletes for each console. Well, what was happening is the PlayStation 2 was $10 cheaper than the PS3. Well, these athletes are getting a percentage cut on the sale price.
Right.
So they're already at a disadvantage because they got the PS2 cover, not the PS3 cover. So if they're going to do a $10 change, hopefully they just stick to one athlete and just roll that or cover art or whatever, because they use different artists sometimes too, and they get a percentage on it. It's going to really suck when you're like, hey, I'm on the cover of 2K21, but shit, I'm on the PS4 one. It's $10 cheaper. I just lost all that money because it's a big chunk.
This is not a direct attack at one Damian Lillard. Sorry, bro.
He'll be on the PS5, bro. They'll probably put Zion on the PS4. He's a rookie anyways.
He's a rookie, yeah. I mean, he only played what? Half the season? A couple months?
Yeah.
Came back just after All-Star?
Yep.
Or what would have been All-Star?
He'll still win rookie of the year.
Ja Morant, bro. He deserves it.
I hope it's Ja Morant, but I have a feeling that the voters are going to go Zion.
Yeah, probably just, yeah. Ja deserves it. But that being said, we can Sheffield. Because it's his name. Also, on the same topic of next gen rumors and moving forward into the next console generation, we wanted to kind of discuss a little bit of one of our love to hate games, being the Call of Duty franchise. For those of you who've been around the series for a long time, you know, right around this time is when we're supposed to be expecting an announcement on what the next Call of Duty title is going to be, get the gist of it. And we can continue speculating from there on what we're going to see. So right about now is when we should be expecting the announcement for Call of Duty 2020, which is an Treyarch title. It is Treyarch's turn because Sledgehammer, I guess, wasn't ready for their next release.
Of course they
but yeah, if World War II was any indication.
Nice.
But apparently they are going to have a hand in this game. Treyarch is going to keep the handle on multiplayer and zombies, since that's kind of their bread and butter.
Wheelhouse, Sir Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, exactly. And Sledgehammer, they're kind of known for putting out these really deep stories, or at least attempting to do so.
World
All
War
that
II's story was good.
Yeah. So they're supposed to take over the campaign for this year's edition of Call of Duty, while Treyarch handles all the online aspects of it.
Mhm.
And there have been some rumors going around about what the next title is going to be. Most popular one being Black Ops Remastered, which I don't find very feasible considering the fact that Sledgehammer is being involved. If they were going to put out a remaster, first off, why wouldn't you just do it the same way Infinity Ward's been doing it when they released Infinite Warfare and they put out Modern Warfare Remastered as a bundle, or with Modern Warfare 2019, and then they put out Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remaster? Why not just drop Black Ops Remaster as a standalone, slightly lesser price, just the campaign, whatever it may be? I could see them possibly doing a reimagining, kind of like what Infinity Ward did with Modern Warfare this time around. But even then, Sledgehammer doesn't have the same connection to that universe that Treyarch does. They pioneered it. Black Ops and Black Ops 2 were a couple of the most popular Call of Duty titles to date, and still very beloved by their fan bases. So I don't see the realism behind bringing in another studio who's been very hit or miss when it comes to their Call of Duty titles to jump in on this IP.
Well, I think you actually hit the nail on the head. I'm in the grouping of I believe they're going to release a Black Ops remastered, especially for the PS5. My thought is they're going to release COD on primarily and do all the gameplay footage and everything on the PS4 or Xbox One, whatever that generation console.
The
And then
current
the
gen.
next gen console, I think they're once that releases, they're going to do like a $29.99 Black Ops remastered, and you get the free version of the next Call of Duty on that console. However, I think they're going to tie in Black Ops to the name. I actually read something where this is rumored to be Cold War, similar to what started the discussions of how Black Ops became Black Ops, which allowed them to make it a historical game, but at the same time give it futuristic references. Because obviously, we all know the Cold War is a war that no one knows about. So I think they do something like Cold Ops or something to where they're tying in Cold War, but they're also keeping the Black Ops realm with it. But I agree with you. Like Infinity Ward, they have that deep connection with like the Modern Warfare, so it's easy to title it Modern Warfare, and then connect it to their other Modern Warfare games. But the thing with Black Ops is, Black Ops went all the way to Black Ops 4. Modern Warfare couldn't do that. They stopped at 3 and then started Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare. They couldn't even keep the Modern Warfare title because it wasn't Modern Warfare anymore. They were overdoing Modern Warfare. They had to branch off and do something that was more quote unquote advanced or infinite. And that's why they changed the name. Whereas Black Ops is whatever you want it to be. They can make it, it could be now, but kind of behind the scenes with this futuristic stuff that you don't know about or whatever. That kind of makes Black Ops what it is. So I wouldn't even be mad if they do Black Ops 5 Cold War or something like that. Like the title to me doesn't matter. I want to make sure that with Treyarch bringing in Sledgehammer, I want to make sure that Treyarch sticks to their guns and doesn't make this something to where they start collaborating and allowing Sledgehammer to try to change some things, because it doesn't need to be changed. Treyarch knows what they're doing. You're doing it on with new graphics. You're doing it with a new quote unquote storyline. Wars or Black Ops or Blackout started the whole BR for Call of Duty. Warzone has taken it to that next level and set that bar there, but Treyarch can take that to an even further height. And I think they will, and I'm excited. That's probably the most exciting thing. I do like how they're working directly with the Call of Duty studios to try to tie in this map to the next map.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to see if any Easter eggs pop up in Verdansk in Warzone that maybe ties into the next Call of Duty title. And Blackout, on first glance when that game came out, I was a huge fan of it, and then it kind of just grew stale for me. They didn't have nearly as much content additions or map changes as other BRs, even Warzone, who hasn't really had any significant map changes. However, there are rumors that Season 5 will introduce some significant map changes, but that's a discussion for another time. But with them, with the possibility of them revisiting this Black Ops universe, with how well Infinity Ward did Modern Warfare, which I think we've already had confirmed that Warzone at least will carry into the PlayStation 5. And even just from a campaign standpoint, tying it back together to the main story, bringing back fan favorite characters like Price, and even just playable operators in multiplayer like Ghost and Gaz, who I guess was just a recent character.
But recent, but he was introduced like immediately in the story.
Yeah, he was a very pertinent part of the story. And with that, I'm kind of figuring, do you think Treyarch would say, hey, Sledgehammer, if you'd like to bring back some fan favorite characters, like one Alex Mason or Hudson or our boy Filthy Frank, if they want to bring him back, if they want to bring those guys back, do you think they would do that? Do you think Sledgehammer could do those characters justice?
If I was Treyarch, that would be the one area where I would allow it. Because like I said, the World War II story was really good. Like
Yeah.
Sledgehammer knows how to especially and I give any developer credit when you're trying to take what information people already know about, like World War II. We all learned about that in high school. We all learned about it from our ancestors, our great grandparents, our grandparents, and all the stories have passed down. You can't see a movie nowadays where there isn't something about World War II. It's just, it is what it is. So for you to try to attack that plot is ballsy. And the fact that they put that story together so well, that tells me that they know how to put a storyboard together. They know how to gather ideas and put it where they want it to be and have it flow how they want it. So if I was Treyarch, I would allow that. I don't want the theatrics to carry into the multiplayer and the zombies. I don't need that. Like I just, if I'm playing multiplayer or I'm playing zombies, I'm playing with my buddies. I'm trying to pass the time. I
Yeah.
don't need the whole storyline intros and all that. Like I believe it was Black Ops 2 when like every time you loaded into zombies, it was like a 30-second intro video. It's like, I don't want that. Like, I want to play. And then when you die, which happens a lot in zombies, then you have to load through another 30-second screen. Like, I want to hit play again and play again. Like, I don't need this whole intro video. I don't need that stuff. So I hope that they keep it campaign and then allow them to pluck from the campaign for their multiplayer, like you alluded to, which would be cool. I don't want them to allow Sledgehammer to come in more than they need to.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it is their title. It is their franchise that they've really built a lot of credibility on in the first-person shooter genre outside of some of their earlier work doing like the Tony Hawk titles.
Mm.
A lot of people forget that Treyarch was one of the lead developing teams behind the early Tony Hawk Pro Skater titles.
Yep.
Which to this day are still some of my favorite games of all time.
Goats.
So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm pretty open at this point to see where they go with this. And I'm excited. I want any bit of information I can soak up on it. I want to discuss it with you. I want to hear your reactions on it because we know we're going to be playing the ever living shit out of that game, whether we like it or
100%.
not.
Yep. I say this all the time to my wife when she asks, why video games? Why has video games stuck with you so much? And the thing is, for the people that know me, and if you don't know me, I fucking hate people. And I work in a business where I have to deal with people. It was a poor business choice. Unfortunately, I got into it early and I was really good at it, so I had to stick with it. But I hate fucking people, and I'm around fucking people all the fucking time. So when I get home, I want to fuck shit up. And by doing that, I get on with my boy Mediocre Panda and we fuck shit up. And usually that's Call of Duty because it's the easiest thing to fuck shit up, or Rocket League. But that usually turns into being super toxic.
Yeah.
Actually, quick story. I played Rocket League last night when we were talking with Kyle.
Yeah.
Literally, this dude we were playing, it was 1-on-1, and I always try to start off super nice. Like if I score or he scores, I always say like nice shot, and I always say thanks. Like I'm always just trying to like keep it cool. Like we're just playing for fun.
Manners,
This
basic manners.
dude flat out boosted, got turbo, and blew me up. Like I was literally just chasing the ball, and he went out of his way to blow me up, and he just put sorry. I was like, oh, okay, so we want to be like that. So then, of course, I scored on him, and then he went to shoot the ball and hit it a little too high, and it led the other direction, and I scored, and I put great pass. And as soon as I did that, he put why toxic question mark. I was like, damn it, I'm that guy. Like it immediately, like Rocket League is the worst. Like it literally, my toxic stages increased to like DEFCON 5.
Yeah, his toxicity is very much over 9,000.
Some would say that it would put the system down.
Boo. All right, moving on from that. Yeah. Speaking of games that, whether we like them or not, are happening, and I have a feeling we're really gonna like this game.
I love it.
I didn't really pay too much attention to it when it was first announced, but now that I've gone back, rewatched the reveal trailer, and watched the gameplay trailer, I'm fucking stoked for this game. That being Star Wars Squadrons. Super awesome concept. Takes one of my favorite parts of the entirety of Star Wars, being just the space battles, just these dogfights they're having, is one of my favorite segments in any Star Wars film. It always just adds to the tension because you never really know who's going to pull out on top, except for it's most of the time the rebels. But we have 2 Death Stars to prove it.
And what they call the planet in Force
Star
Awakens?
Killer Base.
Star Killer Base, yeah.
Yeah.
That took a long time to develop that name.
Yeah. Get it? Because it kills stars and it's a base.
The one
plot
thing
development.
The one thing that I'm super excited about this game is the VR capability. And the reason why is because obviously I have a VR, but the main reason was this next gen console push. A lot of the developers were trying to make this push for VR. They want VR to be like a regular staple in your gaming platform realm. They want you to be able to have the capability to just plug and play and have a game that does both to give you like a different universe, a different feel for the game. PS4 started that with Gran Turismo. You had the VR, you could race like 3 laps in VR, which was like, okay, cool. You kind of led me to it, but it's not that great. And then they announced games. And then that's when they started developing the bundles. But for the PS5, this is going to be, I feel like a game like this can start that big push to where now you're getting big time games. Like you look at VR right now, like everybody's golf is maybe a big time game, and Batman remastered for VR. But other than that, it's all little stuff. It's little games that were developed specifically for VR. To have a big name game like this, have that VR capability could really bridge that gap, which I'm super stoked about.
Yeah. the VR capability, this might be the game that finally puts the nail in the coffin for me, to where I'm probably going out and buying a VR specifically for this game, because this game, whether it be multiplayer or the single player campaign, which there is a campaign for, it has full VR capability. And with it being in such a big universe like Star Wars, and such a big scale thing, these giant space battles, it's going to be so immersive. And all of the in-engine game footage they showed off looks fucking phenomenal. Oh my god, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
But just getting into a little bit of what they've announced so far, other than the VR capability and the single player campaign, you're going to be looking at kind of like we'll call it like a Rainbow Six Siege-esque kind of multiplayer system. 5v5, all in ships. And there are 4 different types of ships you can fly. There are the regular starfighters, the interceptors, the support, and the bombers. And each of those ships and your pilots, you can customize fully. Cosmetically, you can add different abilities and equipment to your starfighters that fits kind of the scheme of your team, which is apparently going to be a big part in one of their multiplayer modes, which so far they have announced 2. One is just a standard dogfight 5v5. I don't know if it's a one and done death or if it's going to be maybe a points-based system, kind of like a team deathmatch. Either one I'd probably be pretty down for.
I think they're gonna pull like a Battlefront type of online match. I think it'll be based upon like, for instance, in Battlefront, when you die, it's kind of like if you played Call of Duty and you play Capture the Flag, where when you die, you have like a 5-second respawn. Same thing in Battlefront. When you die, it's not like you immediately come back. So it is a big setback, especially if you're doing like a 5v5. If you take out 3 people on that team, now the rest of you guys can go get those 2 guys while the other 3 guys are loading in. They'll probably do something like that, I would imagine. If they do a one shot and you're dead, that would be dope. I would just hope that the ships have capabilities of um, healing up and doing that kind of stuff, so you're not like 3 blasts and then you're dead and now you're out and you have to watch your teammates try to finish this thing.
Yeah. Apparently with the support fighters, they can restock you with whether it be ammunition or I believe energy is another thing they can kind of resupply you on. And if they did do the kind of one and done kind of thing, I would hope they would do it in rounds, kind of like search and destroy on Call of Duty, where best of, first to 6 rounds wins. 5v5. If you're dead, you're dead, but you just have to wait till the next round.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really cool. But the game mode I'm most excited for is definitely the fleet battles, which if you haven't seen these, they're these ginormous multi-stage encounters. Starts off with just normal dog fighting, dogs fighting dogs, but not in like a Michael Vick way.
Almost said Michael Vick.
I'm covering my bases here. But essentially, it's kind of like a push for control. If, say, the rebellion's completely shitting on the empire, they're going to fall back to these 2 medium-sized ships where one team is going to be defending, one team's going to attack. And once those 2 ships go down, you now have your giant like flagship, like the Star Destroyers and all of that. And essentially the game ends when someone's flagship falls. That seems to be the game mode they are heavily pushing, other than the campaign. They made a big deal about the campaign. But the fleet battles seem like they are going to have a lot of strategy behind them, a lot of really communicating with your teammate on strategy and building your play style and fighter style to fit team needs, which I think is going to be really cool. I think adding that bit of strategy to it really enhances the gameplay, and overall is just going to be fun as hell to play.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one.
And that game is scheduled to come out on October 2nd of this year, 2020. So just before the rumored release dates for the next gen consoles. I'm sure they will have a port. Maybe not available right off the bat, but I'm sure we'll have a version. We'll see if we'll get that sweet next gen free upgrade. Some studios seem to be all for it. Cyberpunk 2077 is a big one. The first one that was truly announced. Excuse me. That if you buy the previous gen console version, you will get the free upgrade for the next gen, which I think is really cool. Bethesda, take note. I'm not buying Skyrim again. Talk about beating a dead horse, dude.
Well, speaking of Skyrim, let's dive into these lists, dude. I'm super excited to give all the listeners kind of a breakdown of what's about to happen before your minds blow into a billion pieces. We are, if you've ever watched my show, you know that I love brackets and I love lists because I love giving my opinion on what I feel is the best and not the best. And so Cody and I had a brief discussion about what if we did this for multiple facets in the gaming industry. And we decided for this episode to grant you guys access into our top 10 lists of current gen games that are out for these current consoles. And I am super stoked. The one thing that we talked about was we were not going to tell each other our lists.
Yep.
We have a shared drive that we will share notes and discuss episodes with, but we refuse to put our lists on here. So the games that you're going to hear on these lists, we are hearing for the first time as well. But to kind of tease into the list, we're going to start with a few games that were either our honorable mentions or our dishonorable mentions. Do you want to start with the dishonorable or the honorable?
Let's start with dishonorable because I want it to start from the bottom and then we get to here, bro.
Okay, Drake. I feel you.
Yeah, dude. Running through the six.
Whoa.
Yeah. I feel like putting my Raptors hat on, but I don't want to change hats mid episode. That would just be awkward.
I'm sorry for that waste of $19. Unless it's
like
the
10.
old retro Raptors, like the 90s purple and red. Okay, see? Respect. Mad respect. Yeah, okay. Yeah. T-Mac, Vince Carter. All right, I feel you.
Yeah. Hell, Del Curry, bro.
Oh, Del Curry. Surprisingly good golfer, by the way.
Is he? Yeah. Well, I've heard his son is also pretty decent.
Yeah.
Seth Bean.
Nice.
So let's start with your first dishonorable mention.
Are we gonna do this in an order or is it just random? Like, did you actually 1 through 3 or did you?
Nope, these are no particular order.
All right. So my first one, this one hit me hard. So this was when you're like, we should do dishonorable. I was like, well, I know my first one. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle. Okay. For those of you that don't know what this game was based off of, back on the Nintendo, there was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was the greatest game ever made. Fight me if you don't agree. It was like Metal Slug, but Power Rangers. And it was awesome because you could pick whatever ranger you want and you could have up to 4 people playing at the same time. I remember playing it with my older sister and her friends or my friends. And, she would be the pink ranger and her friend would be the yellow ranger. And me and my buddies would be like the blue and the red ranger. And you would just go through a little 2D map, just like you would Metal Slug. And you freaking just ball out as a team. It was awesome. Bandai comes out and they're like, hey, we're going to do this for the next gen console. And they were going to do it for the PS3. And then they're like, nope, we're going to hold off. We're going to really make this game and expand it and make it something where it's just a digital game. It's not disc-based. It's just digital. And we're going to make it to where you're going to never want to stop playing this. I'll tell you what, I pre-ordered it. I played it the hour it came out. I played it for 2 hours, hoping to God it would get better. And I never played it again. It was dog shit. It was awful. It was like, because they're cartoon graphics and they like tried to make them like HD. It was like, no,
Please
This isn't working. It's not
stop
working.
drinking on the job, boys.
It was so bad. It was so bad. The cover art looked so cool. It was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then dog shit. So there's my first one.
Now, with my dishonorable mentions, all three of mine are major AAA titles.
Oh, nice.
All of these pretty like unanimously panned by everyone. So the very first one, a game I was so excited for because I loved the first one in the series, and loved is probably a strong word. I played it here and there, but I had plans. I had a group of people. I was like, we're going to bust through this game. I went and bought the $110 Steelbook edition from GameStop.
Oh, I know what game this is.
And I played it for 2 hours. Nothing going on. And that game being Tom Clancy's The Division 2.
I knew it.
Dude. That game was such a letdown. I feel so bad because my homie Garrett, fucking my hetero life mate, as once Jay and Silent Bob would say.
Garrett's the man.
Yeah. He finally bought a PlayStation 4, and I was like, yo, dude, we played The Division. Let's play The Division 2 together. So I made him buy this fucking game, and every single time I've gone on to play that game, servers are down for maintenance. And I'll even go on to Ubisoft support and be like, hey, is the game down? They're like, nope. Well, fucking check again, because this game does not work. There's nothing going on here. It was such a cool premise, and they fucked it in the butt. It was so bad. I hate that game.
So bad.
That's my first one.
Nice. Do you want to enlighten us on your second?
My second one is another sequel. Metro Exodus.
Oh, okay.
I was a big fan of Metro 2033 and Last Light. I still have the collection of the remasters for the PlayStation 4. Wonderful kind of survival horror kind of elements. And then Exodus came out. I'm like, you know what'd be really cool? Just fucking make it online for no goddamn reason at all. Just because fuck it, right? What are you doing? It's a single player game. And they're like, yeah, you're in a tunnel. And there's dudes, and there might be other dudes. Should have just fucking left it too. But that's my brief explanation of that game. That game was dog shit.
Sorry to hear that. Congrats to them for making the list, though.
Yeah, shout out to them, right? A lot of people tried to forget about the fucking Metro games, but I keep bringing it back. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's awesome. So my number two is the game wasn't like extremely disappointing, and actually it pained me to write it because I'm actually wearing one of the characters that you can have in the game. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5.
I really thought about putting that on mine.
I can tell you that I played it for like maybe 6 hours total, and literally after 2 hours, I was basically done. I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore. And then I unlocked a Ninja Turtle. So I was like, oh, I'm skating as a Ninja Turtle. And I literally did that for like 4 hours and just tried to like do cool tricks and capture it and clip it and try to put it on Twitter. And that was literally that, like all I did with that game. I would have much rather, and I know that we're getting a remaster, which so good. I would have much rather had that remaster than Pro Skater 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I followed that game from release. I watched my favorite streamer, one Ray Nervez Jr. Go check him out on Twitch. Let him know. Please come on the podcast. I'm wearing your shirt. But I watched him play it. Yeah, please be my friend. But I watched him play it day of launch, at launch. Like, he bought the digital version. He bought the fucking game and played it multiple times. I feel so bad for the guy. But the game, another game that they didn't have to make online, but fuck it.
Yep.
Let's do it anyway.
Yep.
And the game at launch was literally unplayable. They put out a 10 gigabyte day one patch to make it to where the features they put in the game would fucking work.
So sad.
And all 6 of them, all 6 features they put in that fucking game work to an extent.
R.I.P. Bird Haas.
Yeah. I shout out to Activision for the quick money grab on the last game with the Tony Hawk rights. But I got that game from GameFly. Remember them?
Yep.
And I got it, and then I was like, I can't continue to pay for GameFly, so I canceled it. And they're like, you know what? Fucking keep it. So I still have that game somewhere. It's still sitting around in its little GameFly sleeve. And I kind of want to tomorrow tie it to a firework and just get rid of it. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
What do you got for number 3?
So this one is one that it was the only reason why it's on this list isn't because the game itself wasn't that good. It's because it was completely overhyped. It definitely underperformed from even if you didn't believe the overhype. And the fact that they're trying to make a sequel sickens me. And that game is a game that was scheduled to be a PS4 launch title. It was supposed to have a console to go with it. It was going to be a bundle on release date. Guess what? Psych. Game's not ready. We're going to push it out a month. Psych. We realized how in-depth the PS4 is, and we want to make sure that this game tackles all of its capabilities. We're going to move it out another 6 months. Psych. We're going to move it out another 6 months. Why? Because our game fucking sucks and we fucking know it. That game is... Cody, do you know it?
No, but I was so distracted by the facial animation there that's all I could focus on for a second, but please enlighten me.
That game is The Order 1886.
Oh, fuck.
Not to mention, once the game finally came out, which just to give you guys time frame, PS4 came out November 2013. That game didn't drop till February 2015. It was supposed to be a console launch, and it was delayed that much. And guess what? Rumor has it, they didn't really change shit. They just realized how fucking bad the game was, and they wanted to change some of the narrative. And the game comes out, it's actually not that bad. It's playable. But guess what? It's also only like 3 hours long. So you're going to pay $60 to play a game for 3 hours, and then you're done. There's no multiplayer. There's no expanded universe. Like it's that game. That's it. You're done. Now they're announcing they're going to make a fucking sequel. Please don't. Please don't. Just don't.
Please stop. Can't you see he's already dead?
What's your third?
It's not much I have to say about this one. Star Wars Battlefront 2. That game. And I mean this one. The one that is allegedly good now. Now, 2 years after it released, is now good. Yep, got my copy sitting right over here. Not going to bother picking it up because fuck that game. The fact that they released it with, we've got a deep campaign that's a story that's never been told before. How long is it? 4 hours. But wait, we're going to have DLC. Just buy our $30 season pass. Oh, you want the classic Battlefront 2 multiplayer? Well, guess what? You'll get it in a couple years, but until then, you want to be good at the game? Fucking buy our loot boxes. And man, DICE should have shut down after that. The fucking rain of hellfire on them for making that game essentially pay to win was relentless. And they removed microtransactions because of it for a few months. And then it was back to the same shit. And that game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original from Pandemic, was, and it still is, so beloved. I have it downloaded to my Xbox One because I still love playing that game. But they just like literally took a shit on its face. It was not great. And apparently they've added stuff to make it playable. And I am not going to waste my time. Yeah. I bought into the hype, and I know I shouldn't have, because at the end of the day, it was an EA title. And they're very hit and miss with the first person shooter stuff, and plus with a big property like Star Wars.
Yep.
Please don't.
Big time. All right, honorable. Let's just list our 3. What do you got for your 3 honorables?
Funny enough, speaking of EA, Titanfall 2.
Nice.
Because I didn't play Titanfall 1. My buddy Kyle, our boy, got me into Titanfall 2. He was the whole reason why I bought the game, and I very quickly fell in love with it because of another game that we'll talk about later.
Which I know what game is that.
Yeah, it doesn't take much thinking. But Titanfall 2, NHL 18, because that was when they introduced the threes game mode, and that was also the addition of the Vegas Golden Knights. And I am a proud owner of the trophy of winning the Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights in the first season.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah. Go Kings, go. And then my third game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. Nice. I fucking love to hate that game, but god damn it, I've logged so many hours in that game, and when I don't know what to play, I fucking go back to it all the goddamn time. It's sickening. I'm so mad that I like this game as much as I do, but fucking props to Infinity Ward for doing the series justice. They did a really good job. The campaign was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And with all of its faults, I still love playing Warzone. Maybe I just need to get good, but
yeah, fair enough. We all do.
Let's hear
it. So my honorable mentions, I have a feeling one of these games is going to be in your list. Apex is in my honorable mention.
Don't know what you're talking about.
I tried to keep BRs out of my lists just because I wanted to, BRs will always be around. You'll always play them, whether, just like you said, you love to hate it. And Apex is just so good. It really is. I'm not great at that game, but I enjoy it. Anytime, people that I play games with are playing it, I'm always down to join. I love that game. That game is awesome. Destiny is on my honorable mention. Destiny was kind of the introduction to Halo fans on PlayStation when they announced it, and everyone was super hyped about it. I really didn't give a shit. But then all my friends were playing it like right at launch, and they were like, bro, we just need help with all these raids. Come do these raids with us. And so I bought the game, and then I ended up like, if you don't know me, I am an avid Madden player. I might have to talk Cody into letting me do some Madden episodes when 21 comes out, because I will make around $1,000 every time I play Madden, because I love that game and I'm very good at it. I stopped playing Madden to play Destiny, and that's not like me. So kudos to Destiny. You didn't make my top 10 because you were a game that was badass for like 3 months, and then you were dog shit, and then your sequel was dog shit. Almost made my dishonorable, actually.
Destiny
my last one,
made mine.
CTR Remastered. Crash Team Racing is by far the greatest racing game of all time. And when they announced the remaster for the new console, the current gen, oh my God, I was so stoked. And it is extremely difficult. So either they made it harder, props to them, or props to my younger self who dominated that game when I was like 10. So either way, kudos. You're on the honorable mention. So thank
Fucking
you.
Yeah. So much nostalgia with the Crash
Oh, yeah.
series.
Yep.
I'm not giving any spoilers or anything, but we might hear a little bit more about Crash Bandicoot in the very near future. Now we get
I know
into
why. I know why. Oh, where is it?
it's Wrath of Cortex. You got it.
No, it's this game.
Oh, dude, that game. Underrated as fuck, and Crash isn't even in it.
Nope.
But now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the Philadelphia Flyers. And
I should have worn my gritty shirt.
Dude, for real though, he didn't punch those kids.
Allegedly.
Now this is the part where we're gonna name off each of us 10 games, and some of you will be like, "Yeah, man, great game, good choice," and the rest of you are gonna be like, "What the fuck are these guys talking about?" Like, oh, you didn't mention this game won Game of the Year and all these awards. Listen, man, these are just our opinions. I'm not saying this is the cream of the crop.
I can promise you right now that most of my games on this list did not win Game of the Year.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee maybe one of mine. But, like, there are some big games I've left off this list because I frankly haven't really played them that much. I know they're good games.
Red Dead.
No, I played Red Dead. I own it.
No, I know,
Great
but
game.
that'd be one of those games that's great that's not on the list.
Oh, that's a spoiler. But yeah, if you guys feel like we left out any games, just
please let
us know in the
us know.
comments. Yeah, I'd love to hear your input on it. Maybe we can go back and revisit those games in the future.
Call me a fucking stooge. Doesn't hurt my feelings. Hey,
Well,
you're passionate. I love it. Dig it.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. So,
Number 10.
Mr. Case in Point, what do you have at number 10?
This game was the start of something amazing. Yes, it's a sports game.
Okay.
Yes, it came out current gen.
Okay.
It had some older gen predecessors.
Okay.
But when EA took over UFC, that game was amazing. It led to multiple sequels that were even better because the fighters were better and the gameplay was better. When they announced the whole joystick grappling, like, bro, blisters. Dude. I'd have blisters on my hands because it was just so intense. You get so intense. I wish I still had my old PlayStation 4 controller because the analog stick above the analog stick, that plastic was gouged out to like where I could push the analog sticks forward and they'd pop off because I just gouged it from grappling so much. That game was awesome. So that's my number 10. Thank you, EA Sports, for putting out a great game.
Phenomenal games. I wish I was better at them. I really do, because I know Garrett's wanted me to play UFC with him all the goddamn time. And there's times where I do, but I'm also such a competitive person that I know I'm not good at it, but I'm going to try to be. And when I start losing, I'm going to be like, fuck this. But
dude,
phenomenal
so frustrating.
games.
So
phenomenal games.
What's your 10?
My number 10, something that a lot of people who know me would not per se see coming. It's a game that was briefly alluded to earlier when we were talking about Star Wars Squadrons. Everybody's Golf made my top 10. I fucking love that game. Me and one of my buddies would just go out for a night hitting the boss, and we'd come home and say, you know what? Let's sit down. Let's relax. Let's play a sweet 18. To a point where I would sign in on his PlayStation, download my save file so we'd have more courses unlocked than just like the first two. And we would ball out like really competitive games. And I'm not normally like a golf fan. I grew up playing more so like Hot Shots Golf, which is the same developer. A lot of the same mechanics. And I love that arcadey style because really the only other golf games that I pursue outside of that and just in real life are mini golf titles. So I found it very fulfilling, and it's a game that I love going back to when I'm just like, fuck it, let's hit the links.
It's a good game, and the VR version is amazing.
Yeah, I when I get my VR, I'm definitely gonna.
It's awesome.
I'm just gonna.
We'll
chow
have
down.
to hit the quote unquote links, as you would say.
Is that what golfers say?
Not generally, but
all right. Well, maybe I'm just
sometimes if you actually play like a links course, then yeah.
maybe I'm just a BFS, a bowling for soup.
Yeah, big fat stooge. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 9. Who's going first?
Oh, you're going first on this one. I feel the love.
Number 9 for me, a game from a developer that I was not super familiar with, because another critically acclaimed title from this developer that I can't fucking remember the name of the developer to save my life. It was not my style of game, but I heard all the praise coming in about it, and it was put up on Xbox Game Pass, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot, and I was fucking hooked. That game being The Outer Worlds. Super deep lore, great character progression. The NPC interactions were phenomenal. The gameplay was amazing. It's from the same developers that did Fallout New Vegas, which I am not by any means a Fallout fan. I just don't really, the universe doesn't do it for me. A lot of the gameplay didn't really do it for me, but I've been trying to venture out of my comfort zone when it comes to different genres of games. And that one, it really caught my eye, and it fucking delivered. It delivered in spades. So Outer Worlds for number 9 for me. Great fucking game.
Number 9 for me is a sequel to a game that was super popular on the PS3. And not a ton of people liked it as much as the game that was on the PS3, but I loved it. I love the storyline. I love how immersive it is. And obviously he's a great character, so you have to love it. And that would be Batman Arkham Knight. That game is
fucking choice.
Fire. I actually have the disc and the VR for
Beautiful.
it. So great game. The character development of Scarecrow in that one is frightful. It's awesome. Great game. If you haven't played it, play it. It is a very immersive game, so it takes a lot. You can't just play it from start to finish and be okay with it. You're going to have to do side missions, and you're going to have to build your character and build your gadgets, and it really makes you strategize. Most games I try to do it to the best of my ability the first time and just beat it and call it good. This game I beat, and then I was like, you know what? I bet you I could do it this way. And I went back and I tried upgrading different gadgets to get it in a different manner. So I've played through it twice, and it is amazing. Love that game.
Yeah, that game I was very suspect on first release, because I heard some of the issues they were having on PC where the game was unplayable. And I wasn't a huge fan at first of the Batmobile tank controls, but I waited for it to come out on PlayStation Plus, and honestly, that game almost made my honorable mentions. I have all the Batman games. I got the Return to Arkham collection for the PS4, because Arkham City is another. If we were talking past gen games, that game probably takes number 1 for
me. Easily.
Well, number 1 or 2, probably 2 behind The Last of Us. But
which is a good one.
Yeah. Well, actually, Uncharted 2.
I think I know what else is on this list. Number 8. I'll start with this one because you kind of already said it in your honorable mentions, and I'm very disappointed in you. Being a sports guy, okay, you know that I play sports all the time. Number 8 on my list is NHL 18. Bruh, NHL 3's coming back. Are you kidding me? This is awesome.
Fucking amazing.
The best part, and I hope my boy Jeremy is watching this because I'm about to give a shout out to my boy. We did a exclusive California sports trip where I went first. He met me there, but Kayla and I, my wife, we drove down because we always go to the annual game with my cousins, Mark and Michelle. Hi, guys. Love you. Hope you're watching. They are big Flyers fans. So every year the Flyers play the Kings in LA. We go and see that game. And so I went down there. Well, during that time, my buddy Jeremy, his team is the Sharks. Well, the Kings were going to make a trip from LA up to San Jose to play the Sharks a couple days after. And then we are both Raiders fans, and the Raiders were playing the Ravens at home that Sunday. So we decided to make a whole trip out of it. I was already in San Diego. I picked them up in LA. We drove all the way up to San Jose, watched them play the Sharks, and they kicked the dog shit out of the Sharks. And then we drove over to Oakland and we watched a Raider game. Well, in between those days, while we were driving up to San Jose, we stopped at a GameStop, and I was debating on if I wanted to play NHL and get the new one, because when you get a sports game every single year, you start dropping sports. Generally, for me, like I'll skip a couple years of FIFA because I don't skip Madden, I don't skip 2K. I usually don't skip NHL. I definitely don't skip the show. And this year I was like, 17 wasn't that great. Hopefully NHL 3s brings it back. I'm not seeing enough gameplay to make me want to play it. Well, Jeremy was like, bro, you got to get it. It's hockey. We just saw 2 hockey games in 3 days. You got to get the game. So I got the game, realized I packed my PlayStation with me, of course, because I pack it wherever I go.
Obviously.
And my HDMI cord broke in my backpack. So we made a side trip after we got to the hotel to the mall to go to a Best Buy or a Target to get an HDMI cord to then play the game at our hotel room. And we probably played till like 2 a.m. And then we went to the Raider game, and then we drove to Reno to stay halfway. We loaded it up in Reno. We played NHL 3s in Reno. Dude, NHL 3s was the best idea EA Sports has ever come up with since Madden Ultimate Team. And they killed it. So
I absolutely agree. I think the thing that solidifies 18 over 19 and 20 for me is the fact that they included the AHL teams and the ECHL teams. There was so many more teams to play in 18's threes. They kind of streamlined it a little bit more in the later years, but just having that variety, having all those challenges to do were so much fun. NHL 18 was the first title that I bought because me and my buddy used to always play NHL 2K7 on the original Xbox.
Nice.
And that game was fun as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? It's time to bring it to the next level. And that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, getting back into hockey for the first time in years and years and years. And it really reignited my fandom of the sport in general.
Let's hear your Ocho.
My Ocho Cinco is a
Chad
little
Johnson.
game. Hey, you may have heard of it. Some people call it the Dark Souls of 2D platform shooters.
Are you going to say Broforce?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, Jesus.
But Broforce is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, good.
It's so amazing.
I almost put it in my honorable mention.
Oh, dude, that would have been great. I would have loved that. No, it's a little game. You may have heard of it. It's called Cuphead.
Haley knows what that game is.
Dude, Haley definitely knows what that game is. That game, I was so hesitant because I am a person who sees Dark Souls, sees all the people raging, and I'm like, that's entertaining, but I don't feel like spending $500 on new controllers every week because I'm going to fucking lose it. Because that's just, those types of challenges aren't for me. Those games aren't for me. But Cuphead, it's a little bit easier. You know, the fact that I love the art style. I love the setting, real old-timey, like 50s cartoons. And it's super cool, kind of like harkening back to like old Mickey Mouse. And it's super fun to play and unforgiving at times. But there hasn't been a single time where I've gotten pissed off saying this game's fucking horse shit. Worst $20 I've ever spent. It's a game where I'm like, okay, I fucked up there. There's a very easy way to fix that, and I can't stop playing it when I pick it up. Plus, the fact that you can play it in Tesla's car. Tesla cars are pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. That's a good pickup. I like the reach for Cuphead. That game is challenging. I remember when Haley got her Switch, she was playing it, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And one of her coworkers' husbands was also playing it, and that's how she found out about it. And I guess they were like competing on who could complete what levels first and all this. And I remember picking it up. I was like, "Oh, this game seems like it's easy." When I started playing it, I was like, "Holy shit, this game is intense!"
Yeah,
and it is not like Mario where you can just run and jump. Like you have to time stuff. You have to know what's coming next. Like it is very challenging. So good pick. Good pick.
Yeah, that game super fun.
Number 7.
Number 7, sticking with this kind of 2 and then 2 kind of format that we're doing. My number 7, a franchise I have loved since like my early middle school years. And when they brought it back with a fucking vengeance. And that being season 1 of Hitman. I was kind of turned off by the fact that it was an episodic release. I remember going to GameStop the day episode 1 released, not knowing it was episodic at the time, saying, "Hey, do you guys have the new Hitman game?" He's like, "Oh man, it's a fucking idiot, fucking stooge." If
I worked
episodic.
at that GameStop, I would have been like, yeah, they decided not to come out with it. So you were misinformed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then probably call me an idiot on the way out and be like, "Sorry, GameStop guy. Let me give you a PS3 and get $6 for it." But it was really cool. The environments were super awesome. A lot of the assassinations were really inventive, and it gave a nice challenge for when you were going for mastery. Getting silent assassin rating on all the levels is a difficult thing to do, even if you're kind of familiar with the genre. Watching speedruns of that game is fucking insane. Like dudes doing suit only silent assassin runs. Fuck, dude. That is insane. But I absolutely love that game. I own it on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I own all the Hitman games. And it's just a favorite that I love going back to. Hitman 2 was
It's a good pick. I like that pick. My number 7 is a well-known franchise. A franchise that most of you as kids loved playing it because if your parents caught you playing it, they'd be sickened with the amount of gore.
I thought I knew what it was. I was very wrong.
A game where controllers snapped on the regular. A game that I found out about from a billboard at an LA Kings Stanley Cup rally. That game being Mortal Kombat X. I remember watching Anze Kopitar holding the cup on the bus, and I looked over and I see a billboard, and all it had was an X and Scorpion Spear coming out of the top of it. And I was like, what the hell is that? Are they making a movie? And so I Googled it, Mortal Kombat X. And literally like breaking news hours, Mortal Kombat puts poster in Los Angeles or billboard in Los Angeles announcing new Mortal Kombat game. I didn't care about the Stanley Cup for a good 5 minutes.
And that's the Stanley fucking Cup.
I was so stoked. Lord Stanley would be pissed. But I was like, oh, no way. Bro, that game is phenomenal.
So good.
The physics, the graphics, the storylines, they did it to perfection, which then allowed it because Mortal Kombat X was just going to be, that's it. They were announcing Mortal Kombat on the next gen, and we're going to make it just like you remember Mortal Kombat, just with better graphics. It was so good and so popular that they were like, you know what? Hey, let's make another. and they came out with Mortal Kombat 11, which was also great, but not as great as X.
I think getting back in the franchise, MK9, the remaster that came out, or the reimagining, reboot, whatever you want to call it, on the PlayStation 3, that brought me back because I haven't been a fan really of Mortal Kombat since Deadly Alliance, which even that was kind of like on the PlayStation 2. But I have so many fond memories of MKX. Just going in there playing as, I think, wasn't Leatherface one of the DLC characters? Like Leatherface and the Xenomorph from Alien, and like bringing in all these new characters. The new characters I very quickly fell in love with.
Yep.
The storyline was phenomenal. I think they continued it very well in Mortal Kombat 11. Like you said, not quite as good though. I really do enjoy that pick.
Well, thank you.
Number 6.
So before we did this list, I asked, could we put remasters on here? And I was granted the opportunity to. So I didn't want to let this one pass by. So at number 6, the greatest PlayStation 1 game of all time, aside from Crash Bandicoot, Resident Evil 2 Remastered. Such a good game. Literally, the reason why it really hits home for me is because when I couldn't sleep at night because I was scared, I decided to watch scarier things, which was not a great idea. But when my dad would get home from his double shifts at FedEx, he would always play Resident Evil 2. And he could only play it at night because I wasn't awake. And that's the only time my mom allowed him to play it because he's whipped. And I would sneak out of my room, walk down the hallway, and he'd be sitting in the little family room playing the PlayStation 1. And I would just kind of like sit by the front door and just kind of watch it through like a little opening. And I just watch him play. I remember I tried to be so sneaky. And one time he turns around because he was scared playing the game. And he turns around. He's like, "Oh my God, you scared me. What are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, I wanted to watch you play this." He's like, "You can't watch this." I was like, "Oh, I wanted to see if you were able to pass this, this, and this." And he initially, right then and there, he was like, "Oh shit, he's been watching me play this for a while," because he knew what I was trying to do. So he's like, "Yeah, come on, watch." So then it became a thing where like if I woke up, I just watched him play Resident Evil 2. And then when the PS2 came out, I still had yet to play Resident Evil 2 because I was fairly young. I kept my PlayStation 1 and my parents went on a trip and I was able to stay home with my grandparents. And I put away my PS2 to plug in the PS1 and play Resident Evil 2. I beat it in a day. That's how stoked I was to play that.
Damn.
So when they announced the remaster, it was so nostalgic for me. Even if it sucked, it would have been great. And it didn't suck. It was so good. And they did a great job. There was rumors that they were going to try to force like first person into it and really remaster it to where it fits what you're looking for on the current gen consoles, but they didn't. They made the controls just as difficult. They made everything the way that it should have been. And I applaud them. It was great. And it's the only remaster that deserves to be on my list.
Fair enough. As I said in the text message when we were discussing remasters and certain things, your list is your list.
Yep.
I'm not saying there isn't any remasters on mine, but that's a great pick. Resident Evil 2, the remake of that was fucking phenomenal. I remember the announcement for it like it was yesterday, and it's a game I love revisiting. Especially looking at YouTube compilations of fucking Mr. X coming through doors and all of a sudden X gonna give it to you from DMX starts playing.
Yep.
It's so fucking good.
Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
All right. Number 6.
Number 6 for me is a indie game that picked up a lot of traction. And
I didn't know they made Indiana Jones for the current gen.
Dude, Lego Indiana Jones. What the fuck, bro?
Snap.
It's not. That's not it though.
Ah, shit.
You wish though.
As long as it's not.
As long as it's not King of the Crystal Skull.
I'm sorry. Did you say Voldemort?
There is no Crystal Skull and Bossing Say. My number 6 is a game called Dead Cells.
Ooh.
Which is a 2D dungeon crawler roguelike kind of deal where you're going through these like tunnels and there's like this really deep underlying sub-story to it. And you get these crazy weapons off these crazy modifiers. And it's a challenge. And it's a really challenge that I don't actually mind too much. It's one of those, hey, you're dead, fucking start over, dude. But you can upgrade things as you go along. You can get mutations to where, oh, you died, but you had, 2,000 coins on your body. Well, here's a bag. Guess what's in it? 2,000 coins. So you can carry some of that stuff over and you can unlock different weapons and you can randomize like your starting weapons, things like that. Fun as fuck. I absolutely love it. That game, I think, might have gotten like Indie Game of the Year honors.
Nice.
But fun game, super awesome. I recommend people check it out, even if it's not for you.
Never played it.
Moving into number 5.
Number 5. Favorite number, so it better be a good one.
Funny that you speak of the Resident Evil franchise.
I think it's number 7.
Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is one of the greatest, I would say top 3 at least, Resident Evil games of all time. I would even put it up in top 2 with Resident Evil 3. I think Resident Evil 3.
Resident Evil 5's not in your top 3?
There is no Resident Evil 5 or 6. Don't.
I believe they made a gold edition.
Yeah, well, that's hearsay. But getting back to what made Resident Evil so good to begin with, just that feeling of pure dread, knowing that something bad is around that corner and you're going to have to confront it or fucking run away like a little bitch, which I did plenty of. I'm not going to lie.
That went without saying.
Yeah, that game was frightening. And the fact that they did it from a first-person point of view and the DLC was all very good. And the twist at the end was phenomenal. I cannot wait to see what they do with it in Resident Evil 8 Village. Resident Evil 7, number 5.
Nice. For me, this one's probably going to be the biggest surprise on my list. Because the rest of them are, you could probably guess them. Number 5 is a game that you really can't play all the time because it's not that it gets boring or anything, but it's really hard on the body. And it's really a game that you should play with a group because it makes it more fun. That game being Beat Saber. This game is fucking awesome. I remember a few years ago when someone was playing a game that was similar to Beat Saber on like the Samsung VR or whatever. I was like, oh my God, that's like the greatest invention ever. Lightsabers and music. Say no more. Take my money now. Then they released the PlayStation VR. We talked about that briefly. They released some pretty good games that were like, hey, this is specifically for the VR. This could be cool. Wasn't really digging it. Didn't want to pay $300 for the VR for games that I might only play a couple times. Then they released Beat Saber for PlayStation 4. Just so happened to be like 2 weeks before Black Friday. Pre-ordered the Black Friday bundle, picked up the Black Friday bundle, downloaded Beat Saber digitally. I actually still have the games from the VR bundle that are still in the wrapper because I've only played 3 games on the VR, and that would be Creed, Beat Saber, and Everybody's Golf. Beat Saber is amazing. And when I say it's hard on the body, it is extremely hard because when you put on those VR goggles, ask Haley, she has had panic attacks. When you put on the VR goggles, you are literally in space. Like it is completely black. you're in a dark hole, and then all of a sudden these colored things start flying at you, and you just got to beat them down. It is so awesome. The music is so good. They've branched out and done some big name music titles as DLC, but it's one of those games that even the game specific songs are catchy, and it makes it worth playing. So Beat Saber is my number 5.
When I eventually get my VR, that is going to be one of my first 3 games purchased, if not the very first one.
So good. So good.
Also, I'm absolutely terrified to play Resident Evil 7 on VR because it's VR compatible and it's terrifying.
Yeah. Number to do that.
Oh yeah, fuck, dude. Number 4. What you got?
Number 4 is technically, if you want to argue that it's not a current gen game, I'll accept it, but you have to call it by its name. And that name being Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars. They renamed it because fuck that. Yeah, and we're going to make it
catchy.
Way better, and we're going to call it Rocket League. This game, props to my boy Mike, because it was one of those games where I was like, who fucking plays Rocket League? And Mike was like, bro, it's free for PlayStation Plus right now. I was like, dude, I'm not going to play it. He's like, bro, there's duos we could play together against other people. Yeah, no. And he sent me a video of him playing it. He's like, dude, it's so much fun. I promise you. Like, he did not let up. I wish that my phone went back that far for text, because it was like literally a week straight, like every day. He's like, bro, did you get Rocket League yet? Did you get Rocket League yet? Did you get Rocket League yet? So finally I downloaded it. Once it downloaded, I'm pretty sure we pulled an all-nighter. And we played it religiously for years, which led to the greatest team of all time being Puppy Monkey Baby. And who cares that we didn't place in any tournaments, but we did it. And that's what matters. And that game is awesome. To this day, I will still load into it. I will still play it. I just told a story earlier about playing it and being extremely toxic. This game is awesome. And there was rumors that they were going to do a DLC pack, and they would, for like 2 weeks, change the entire interface to Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars, which would have been cool for like a little bit, but then be super fucking annoying, and then bring it back to Rocket League. But Rocket League is Quattro for me. What's number 4 for you?
First off, I'd like to say that's incredible. And also, do you want to play Rocket League after this?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I will never say no to that.
My number 4, you know how we were talking about remasters earlier and how like there might be a remaster on my list? Well, there was a remaster that came out a few years ago, and when I saw the announcement, the literal noise that came out of my mouth was, wow! Crash Bandicoot, The Insane Trilogy, fucking A. The very first game I ever remember playing ever was Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 1. Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortez Strikes Back is my favorite Crash game of all time, top 5 all time. And then I remember sinking in so many hours with one of my friends from California in Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped that when I finally got that, it was just like the old days, and it's still phenomenal. After that remaster came out, it was the first time I ever beat Crash Bandicoot. I've beaten Warped, I've beaten Crash or Cortex Strikes Back, never beaten the first one, because the first one is fucking brutal.
Yeah, it is.
And it took so much patience, but I finally did it. Didn't 100% it because I'm not fucking insane. I know people do it like all the time, but I just don't have the patience for it right now. But Insane Trilogy, phenomenal game.
Before you go to number 3, your 2, what are they, when you think of Crash, all the Crash games, what 2 levels stick out to you the most?
Ooh. Obviously the original Boulder level. That's what made Jesus Christ, what made Crash so iconic.
I mean, they put it in an Uncharted game.
Yeah, on the PlayStation 4. That's when everyone was like, "Oh, maybe they'll remaster it." And sure as shit, they did, and they did an incredible job. That level for sure. And then, fuck, that's a really hard question. Honestly, Insanity Beach, the very first level,
Okay.
that I could do that level blindfolded, probably not, but I'm gonna say I can for the clout.
For the clout. For the clout. Let's do it. See, like mine is Warped, the motorcycle level. Just so good. Just
So challenging.
so good. And then the one for me that's probably like the most memorable, like when I think of Crash, I think of the Great Gate level.
Oh yeah, Great Gate's great.
Where you're, or sorry, not Great Gate, Orient Express, where you're
Okay, yeah,
what's her face, and you're riding
Coco on the tiger.
on the tiger on the
Yeah.
Great Wall. Like that level is insane, and you have the dudes, like all the vendors that walk by, and you have to like avoid them. Like that level that was one of those levels where you have to really be paying attention. You can't just blow through that level, because it was one of those games that, even though it had a choreographed system, if you started it at a certain time, you were off on your timing. So you had to really pay attention and really focus. That level was awesome. And then the jet ski level was cool, but Orient Express and the motorcycle primo level.
It's funny to me how I picked 2 levels from the first game and you picked 2 levels from the third game.
Yep.
Which leads me to my next question before we move on to the top 3. What's your favorite boss fight?
Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite boss fight in the Crash Bandicoot universe actually won't come from the story games. It'll come from Crash Team Racing. And that is Engine. His boss level is fucking intense.
Yeah.
And that would probably be the one that sticks out to me the most.
Yeah. Zero room for error on that.
Oh yeah.
Fucking insane.
Yeah. One of those where, like, even if you spin out, just fucking restart. You're not going to catch back up. Just restart.
Yeah, he's fucking crazy.
Yep.
I gotta say, it's kind of a toss-up for me between 2, and I'm gonna cheat because fucking it's our show. We make the rules. And that 2 being, do you remember Dingo Dial?
Dude, Dingo Dial is the shit. His dance that he used to do.
Yeah. The
accent?
level accent's phenomenal. All right, mate.
It's Dingo Dial here.
That was really good.
Dude, I fucking love that game.
But the ice boss level where he like shoots the things down, that one's one
in the center.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, there's a very easy skip for it, but it was still so much fun. And then one of the ones that has always stuck out to me was Ripperoo. When you have that
annoying
big platform and he's like jumping and spawning the TNT blocks and the nitro blocks and stuff. That one, as simplistic as it may be, you just have to follow a pattern. It's so iconic to an extent. And Ripperoo has always been one of my favorite big bads in the Crash series. Top 3.
Fucking annoying.
Yeah, annoying little crazy bastard. Yeah. Yeah. So number 4, Insane Trilogy. Phenomenal.
Nice. Top 3.
Top
number 3.
Number 3. Now, this is where can
I just point out to the listeners right now? I actually wrote down my idea of what Cody's top 3 are. And if I'm not even close, I won't show you guys. But if I am close, I will definitely show you. So,
Dude, you know me so well. I guarantee yours are probably spot on.
and I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm pretty sure we both have the same number 1.
Yeah, probably. This one, it's gonna be a dead giveaway. As I say the first thing, I haven't finished the game yet, but I can already tell I'm gonna fucking love it. Last of Us Part 2 is fucking amazing. Anyone who says the game shit, eat a fucking dick. Like, everyone's just fucking spiteful over little things here and there that have nothing to do with the actual game itself. I mean, sure, there are some major things that people aren't super happy about, but to progress the story in the direction they wanted it to go in, which I believe was the right direction, totally justified. Phenomenal fucking game. I cannot wait for the HBO series. I also cannot wait to finish this fucking game so I can actually like read what people think about the game, because I've been avoiding spoilers still.
Nice.
Last of Us Part 2 is number 3.
Good pick. Good pick.
Game of the year.
This is why I love our chemistry, because that one, I am so glad that I guessed it as 3, because now I know for sure.
Now you know for sure what my top 2
I just went a hundo. But also because our interests are polar opposites, yet we still find common grounds. And you go through this top 10 list, we have yet to have the same game either on the list or at the same number, but our final 2 are going to be almost identical.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't know.
I know where you're going number 2. I did not go number 2, but I believe I believe I already mentioned number 2. So
guarantee you have.
Number 3 for me is a PlayStation classic, and I'm kind of upset because, as I just mentioned, I just went 100 on yours, so I know what your other 2 are, and this game isn't on your mention or your top 10.
I know where you're going with this.
I love you, but I fucking hate you at the same time.
I hate
Uncharted 4. One of the greatest theatrical video games ever made. Now, there are games where there are cutscenes that are very elaborate, like The Last of Us 2, that are great, and the acting's great, and the voiceovers are great. But Uncharted has always found the perfect way to mix in theatrics and the game. And Uncharted 4, they tapped into that big time. They did great character bringbacks. They did great teases for what could happen, even though it's not going to happen. And as we just mentioned, you can fucking play Crash Bandicoot in it.
Yeah.
Uncharted 4, number 3. Wonderful game. Naughty Dog.
Yeah. Funny that we both chose Naughty Dog games as our number 3. That's kind of hilarious, because a lot of game mechanics in The Last of Us Part 2 come from Uncharted. Like, they added a rope mechanic, like they introduced in Uncharted 4, which was fucking game-changing. Oh my God, it was so good.
And I would just like to interrupt as well, for those of you listening that you're like, hey, you haven't said this one game, classic PlayStation title, very upset with you. God of War is not on our lists. I can guarantee you that. Yeah. And it is not because it's not great. It's because I am so scared to start playing it that I haven't, so I can't put it on my list. Yeah, so I'm sorry.
Obviously, it won Game of the Year for a reason. Strong opinion. I don't think it should have. I believe our number 1 should have, but
I'm so good.
But it's a phenomenal game. I've seen so much of it, and I've held off on certain things just because I still want to play it for myself. But yeah, God of War will not be making this list until maybe if we revisit this in the future after we've both played it, then we can revisit this.
Maybe not.
We'll see. Maybe. That's the part where I was like, let us know in the comments what fucking stooges we are, because I guarantee it's not on the list.
Yep. All right. So number 2 for me is a game that I don't believe you finished or played. I could be wrong. But it is a game that made me fall in love with the entire series. We've talked about games where you get into it kind of late, like you get into the fourth one or the third one or the second one, and you're like, holy shit, where's this game been my entire life? And then you go back and you play the original, and you're like, oh my God, how did I not play this? This game is good. Um, Far Cry 4. Far Cry 4 was a game that I always despised games like it, except for Batman. I always made the exception for Batman. I never liked immersive gameplay to where you had to upgrade specific things to pass levels. I like to rely on my skill and my strategy. I didn't like upgrading things because I hated reading what it did and then getting to a part in the game where it's like, oh, you should have done this because you would have been able to skip this part. Now you have to go brawl these people that are going to be extremely difficult to beat. Like, I didn't like that. But I always made the exception for Batman because it's Batman.
Yeah.
So one of my good buddies' younger brothers was playing Far Cry 3, and I was like, oh, this game actually looks kind of fun. What is it? He's like, it's Far Cry. I was like, yeah, fuck that game. He's like, well, Far Cry 4 is about to come out. You should definitely try it. So when Far Cry 4 came out, I played it. And I played it all the way to the end, no matter how difficult it was, no matter how uninterested I was at some times. But then once I finished the game and it had an alternate ending, I was like, am I going to be a bitch and just play the last level over? Or am I going to start this whole thing over again? Guess what? Started it over again. And I did a different strategy. And it was a heck of a lot more fun. So then I was like, I'm going to do this again and do a completely different strategy. And I did again. And then I was like, you know what? It's Far Cry 4. I can't beat the game 3 times. I got to beat it 4 times. So I played it again. It was amazing. And then Primal came out, and Primal was good. Then Far Cry 5 came out, and Far Cry 5 was great. Far Cry 3 ended up being really good. So Far Cry 4 really got me into that franchise, and it got me back into that style of gameplay. Like, I don't fear playing those kinds of games anymore, because even though it can get uninteresting sometimes, I know that if they're putting this amount of work into that game, generally the end result is worth it. So Far Cry 4 is my number 2. I know you're number 2, but go ahead and tell the listeners.
Well, first off, I'd like to say you are correct in saying that I actually have not played Far Cry 4. I do own Far Cry 5, and I did play on the 360 the expansion to Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which was fucking incredible.
So good.
That like 80s style action shit was awesome. Yeah, you probably know what my number 2 is. You mentioned it earlier on your honorables, but I just can't fucking give it up. Apex Legends. I, to a fault, love that game. I love all the characters, even you, Gibraltar.
Jibby!
Dude, Mega Gibraltar. The now here and there there have been some issues with the game, some balancing issues. The fact that they murdered my boy Pathfinder, World's Edge is a fucking travesty. And as of recently, there have been some updates where there have been some major hit detection issues where I'm hitting people 8 times, getting the sound effect that I'm hitting them and not getting any damage on them. And that's like costing me games. And it got to the point where I stopped playing Apex for like a month. I was very displeased. But those fucks at Respawn, those beautiful bastards keep bringing me back in. Vince Zampella, you are doing amazing work. And I played this game on launch day, knowing nothing about it, never playing any of the Titanfall games. This game got me into Titanfall 2, and I love it. I will probably never stop playing it.
And fun little side story was when you actually played it on launch, you texted me and you're like, hey, did you download Apex? Well, when Apex came out, Anthem came out, and Anthem was supposed to be this big deal. Well, I downloaded Anthem. So when you said Apex, I thought you meant Anthem. So I was like, yeah, I got it. And then later that night, you're like, hey, we're playing Apex. Do you want to play with us? And I was like, sure. And I loaded into Anthem, and I was like, hey, I don't think we can play all 4 of us. And you're like, yeah, we're in Apex. And I was like, what's Apex? And you're like, oh, it's this game. And I looked it up. I was like, dude, this game looks like it's gay. Yeah, you guys have fun. I'm going to play Anthem instead. Anthem ended up being not so great.
Not great at all.
And Apex ended up being fucking amazing. Definitely picked the wrong A game that came out during that time frame. So great game. Fantastic game. Love it.
I can't wait to see what they do in the future with it. I can't
Yeah,
believe we're
that'd be
already
cool.
on season 5.
Yeah, insane.
It's crazy. All the different changes. And
You want to
now,
just say number one at the same time?
I know our number ones, and fuck, we can just get into this in-depth conversation about the phenomenal Marvel Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. Fucking greatest game ever. Fight me.
So good.
Fucking fight me. That game was one of the very first games that I'm not usually a completionist when it comes to video games. If there's a game I truly enjoy or I feel like, having a challenge and grinding it, I'll put myself to the task. But with Spider-Man, I just couldn't fucking get enough.
Yep.
I wanted everything. I want to finish all the street crimes. I want to complete the story. I did my first run on the regular difficulty, and then as soon as New Game Plus came out and the ultimate difficulty came out, I was like, boom, we're in it. Let's go. And then I fucking went, and I don't know if I've ever told you this before, I went and did an ultimate difficulty playthrough with no upgrades. It was challenging, but god damn is that game a masterpiece.
So
I do not see any fault in that game. Even the DLC was phenomenal.
Yeah. Honestly, like I read an article today that was like people speculating on Miles Morales and how that's going to be on next gen. Someone was like, honestly, if you just gave us Spider-Man with Miles as a player and just said it's its own story, but it's the exact same story with Miles, I would still play it all.
Yeah.
And yep, I'm in the same boat. If that's how good that game is.
If they put out a quote unquote remaster for a game that came out a fucking year ago and they did a separate trophy list, I guarantee you I'm platinuming it again. Because I will gladly put myself through that again. Because it was just so good. Yep, so good. And I cannot wait for Miles Morales. Yep.
I figured I almost put Apex at 3, and I was like, Apex is probably 3. Last of Us is number 2 because he was so hyped about the game, and then I was like, but he didn't finish it, so I feel like he's not going to put it at number 2, and you didn't. So
nope. You know me so well. I am surprised. One game I'm very surprised to not see on your list was Spyro.
See, and that's why when I asked about remasters, if your response would have been, well, duh, I have remasters on my list, Spyro probably would have been in the top 10. Crash would have been in my top 10. It actually might have been a lot of remasters. But I also, going through my games and through my head, like I told you earlier, like this was the easiest top 10 for me because I literally wrote 10 games right out. As soon as we were like, let's do this, I wrote down 10, like right off the bat. And actually, I only ended up adding 2 and swapping a couple out. And the 2 that I swapped out were the remasters. Because I was like, you know what? There are games that I played more than the remasters. I'm only putting the remasters because the original was so good.
Yeah.
Spyro is one of those. Like the remaster is good and all, but it's not. It's more nostalgic than anything. Like Crash is nostalgic, but it's still super fucking fun.
Yeah.
Same with Crash Team Racing. Same with Resident Evil 2. Spyro is more just like, hey, it's Spyro.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
So that's why it wasn't on my list.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I didn't want to give too much away for my list because I wanted it to be at least numbers 10 through 4 apparently to be a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I definitely thought COD was making your top 10.
No.
I definitely thought Titanfall 2 was going to make your top 10. And I definitely thought, shit. I got to go to the game, and it's very frustrating. I thought for sure that, mm, 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 uh, well, it'll come to me later.
Yeah.
That's dad brain talking right now. Yeah,
Is it
there
the
was a
dad
game that
brain or the Jaeger brain?
it was pretty low, but it's dad brain for sure. It's me wondering what time it is and if my kids are gonna be awake or not. But yeah, there was another game that I thought for sure was gonna be in your top 10, and I don't even think it was your honorable mention. It'll come to me later, and I'll
Yeah,
laugh.
I'm sure we'll discuss it over Rocket League.
Yeah. Oh, there's the game.
Oh. That's so
Rocket
funny.
League. I thought for sure Rocket League was gonna be on your top 10, even if it was number 10. I thought for sure it was gonna be on your top 10.
Yeah, actually, as I kind of said with you, I had a little bit of a hard time just because I've played so many games, and there's so many games that I know are good that I just haven't played. That I would have felt like I was doing the game a disservice putting it on my list without having the experience, like with God of War.
Yeah.
I
So like
I
for all the listeners, I apologize because I know right now, just me being a gaming fan, I can tell you there's 5 games right now that come to my brain that were not on any of our lists, honorable or not. God of War being one of those, Grand Theft Auto being one of those, um, Dishonored could possibly be on your list of those games that aren't being mentioned. Red Dead Redemption being one of those games that's not mentioned. And look, here's the thing. For me, I am someone that has an exclusive amount of time to play video games every single day, and that is usually when my kids go to bed and before I go to bed. So depending on how good that game is how much sleep I get. And if I start playing that game and it is not great off the jump, I don't play it anymore. And Red Dead Redemption 2, how great the graphics were, how intense the gameplay was, and the story was, it just wasn't for me. So that's why it wasn't on my list. God of War is a completely different beast. God of War, I know, will sucker beam me right into that. And I know I don't have time to play it. So if I have like a 3-day weekend like I do starting tomorrow, maybe I'll dive into it. Maybe I'll feel bad and I'll start playing it. Maybe not. I don't know. But that's why that wasn't on there. And like the Dishonored games and all that stuff, like a lot of those story mode games, it's really hard for me to get into. Like I really have to have like a drive to initially start it for me to finish it. So that's why those games weren't on my list. It's not that I don't believe it's a great game. Watching gameplay, watching other people play it, other people talk about it, like that's awesome. And it's just not for me. And just like I wouldn't expect Rocket League to be for you, or Resident Evil 2 or Spider-Man to be for you. That's fine. But yeah, that's why those aren't on the list.
Like we said before we started this segment, if you guys have any games that you feel real passionate about, games that we haven't even mentioned now, whether it be God of War, Dishonored, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead, if there's another game that you feel so passionately about, we want to hear from you. Please let us know. We would love to hear from you. We want to hear about your passions as well as ours, and maybe we can talk about it. Maybe you will be the person that inspires us to pick up a new game, which is always very fun, because that's kind of what we strive for. Is we want to share our interests with you guys and vice versa. We want to hear what you're passionate about as well as you guys hear what we're passionate about. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up episode 2 for us. Another really good one in the books. I have a feeling, just this sinking suspicion or sneaking suspicion, whatever the phrase is.
Tomato.
Yeah. That we went over the hour. I have a feeling. Yeah. So if this isn't on SoundCloud, sorry, we'll cut it down maybe.
Yeah. I think we could. This one, I think we could definitely cut.
Yeah. This one will be a little easier. We can cut out a little bit of stuff. And we can it's definitely going to be on YouTube for sure. So if you're on YouTube already, if you watched episode 1, check out episode 2, which if you're hearing this, you probably already did. So congratulations.
You win.
Yeah, you win my appreciation, which goes a long way.
does.
And if you're watching this before episode 1, what are you doing, you stooge? Go back and watch episode 1. It was so much
Born
fun.
in a barn?
Yeah. I bet you leave the doors open. You're letting the cold out of the refrigerator. God damn it.
Speaking of refrigerators, you know new age refrigerators beep at you when they've been open for over a certain time?
Yeah, dude.
Freaked me the hell out with my fridge.
Yeah. Dude, our fridge is so fucking broken that like it'll be shut, but it'll be like ding ding ding. I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's been shut for 20 goddamn minutes. And then I go over there and it's not shut. And I'm like, all right. You win this round.
Make sure my lunch meat is still at good temperature.
Meat.
Nice.
That'll do it for us, you guys. If you
better.
enjoyed on YouTube, feel free to let us know what you think in the comment section, subscribe,
Don't say it.
and ring that motherfucking bell so you let us know, so it lets you know when our next episode goes live, and also it really helps us out.
Smash it like the Liberty.
Yeah, dude. Smash it like it's a moth. Like Smash Mouth.
Smash
Because you're an all-star.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Smash Mouth. They're great. And if you are listening to this on other streaming services, feel free to subscribe to the show if you enjoyed. Are ratings a thing? Like, can they rate us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can. There is a thumbs up, thumbs down rating.
Yeah. Let us know. If you like it, please like it. If not, maybe just pass on it.
If you really hate it, by all means, go in the comment section and give a good old emoji of this. We'll get it.
Well, yeah. I've seen a few of those.
Yeah.
To where I think I'll get the gist of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll hurt my ego too much.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for us. Look forward to another episode coming very soon in the next probably few days. We'll have much more to talk about, talking about next-gen consoles, talking about game development in general. And it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be it might get a little heated.
Possibly.
But we will see. You'll just have to tune in to find out. Cliffhanger. So that'll be it for us, you guys. Enjoy your 4th of July, wherever you may be. Fire off some fireworks, drink some drink, have a good time, but most importantly, be safe about it. Don't lose any digits.
Yeah, don't come back after this being Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, true. Big true. So that is it for us, you guys. I have been Cody.
And I'm still Jason.
And this has been Mashing Joys, episode 2. Be safe out there. Eat your vegetables. And just overall, have a good day, you guys.
Later.
See ya! See ya!
I'll probably get in trouble for that one. Fuck it.